Matcha! It's been a while since I made a video about minimalism. When I started this channel, minimalism was actually the main focus, to the point that I actually called my project file Minimalism. And it's still called that today because honestly, it took me this long to notice. But obviously, my channel is not only about minimalism. I moved on because I wanted to talk about other things. The burning passion to critique capitalism and promote well-being took over. I'll admit that I came to minimalism quite late, and when I started to minimize my life, most other people were beginning to maximize theirs. Buying new stuff to keep yourself happy during the pandemic, remodeling your home so that you have office space, or growing a new home baking empire. The times, they were a-changing. And the last video I made on this topic was actually about maximalism, a movement taking prominence over in the interior design sphere. I'm not in the interior design sphere, I'm just on the outside looking in. But in that video, I came to the conclusion that both movements were about being happy with your choices. And today I'm going to explore why minimalism, whilst falling out of fashion, is still a relevant lifestyle choice. Not gonna lie, sometimes I ask myself, am I still a minimalist or am I more of an intentional liver? These things aren't that different, they both focus on intention and control in your life. One thing my minimalism content always came up against was the notion that minimalism was about restricting your life to the extreme. And so I created a video about extreme minimalism to point out that the two are different. And I have to mention that my favourite negative comment of all time is someone who commented on that video, "You are not extreme." I mean, you hit me where it hurts, brah. I've always wanted to do the extreme minimalism thing for about a week or so and see how it goes. But it genuinely terrifies me, and I think I didn't put a camera down as one of my 15 items that I'd use, so I don't even know if I could make a video about it whilst I was doing it. I suppose I could just burn my phone out. But whilst I identify as a minimalist, I do have belongings. I know, shock. Even belongings that just bring me joy or are decorative or even just have one purpose. Because minimalism is not about a strict set of rules, it's about creating harmony in your life. One thing that I feel minimalism helps with is decision fatigue. It's that moment when you're staring at hundreds of clothes in your wardrobe and you cannot decide what to wear. Or you're ready to start reading a new book, but you can't decide which out of the pile of new books you want to start reading. Basically, our brain can get overwhelmed with choice because it's either worried that it's going to make the wrong decision or it's too excited about too many possibilities. By having a minimalist wardrobe, I only own clothes that I'm really excited to wear and that I feel good in. I still make a choice based on weather or the occasion that I'm going to, but I don't get the paralysis that I used to get because I know whatever I choose will be a good choice. It's time for you to get your Ash on Film bingo cards out because I'm about to talk about the wellbeing course that I went on. If you're new here, about a year and a half ago, I went on a course called The Science of Wellbeing, which scientifically studied how we can control how happy we feel. The course is online and free, and I'm not sponsored by them, but I will link it below because I genuinely believe in how much it works. Over the course, we explored how buying things gives us a little hit of dopamine because our brain is like, yay, we have something new, this is exciting, it makes me feel happy. And subconsciously we equate spending money with happiness. So we keep buying new things because we're excited to get that hit again. But the reality is that with most of the things we buy, the novelty wears off pretty quickly, it doesn't bring us joy forever, and then because it sticks around, we're constantly reminded of that time that we thought we would be happy forevermore, and now we're not. So we end up in a vicious loop of expectation and disappointment. To this end, minimalism brought me a lot of harmony by learning to let go. I've said this before, but when Marie Kondo said that you should thank things for being in your life before you get rid of them, I thought she was afarheed. But I tried it because growth, and it's really helpful. It makes me feel less guilty and like my life is a journey and this item was just a friend at the side of the road and it's time to wave them goodbye. I strongly recommend it. So minimalism is not about restricting your life. It's about creating less disappointment, less frustration, and more peace. And that sort of self-care is always relevant. I've seen some minimalist creators post things they are not buying in 2022, and I want to see Is this relevant? Ashlyn Eaton is someone that I followed closely when I started out on my journey. She's so minimalist that she doesn't use chapters in her videos, which sucks for research, but okay sis, save that time. I'm not going to cover all 10 of the things in her list, but if you want to have a look at them, then feel free to head over to that video after this one. She's not taking on any new subscription services, and that's a very modern minimization. Valid because who has time to watch all the content, especially when you're watching my YouTube channel for free? But honestly, I think it's a good idea to cut out anything that you're not getting value from. I cancelled Amazon Prime last year because I wasn't buying things enough to use the delivery service, and I wasn't watching anything on Prime TV. I think I watched one film in the final 3 months of 2021, so it was time for Prime to sashay away. Ashlyn also said that she's no longer buying books. If she wants to read something, she'll see if she can borrow it from a friend. And a few other YouTubers have said that they're not buying books this year. And it's just such a shame that they shut all the libraries. Like, I feel like this wouldn't be a thing 30 years ago. But in general, I think borrowing from friends is a great idea. Not just for books, but for anything that we use occasionally. Outfits, board games, boyfriends. She's also not buying kitchen appliances, and I wholeheartedly agree with this. Borrow from someone else or figure out how to do it with something you've already got. My family keep trying to give me more kitchen utensils, and I know they're trying to be nice, but I really like having the least amount of things that I can. It means that I wash everything after I use it, and it keeps the kitchen really tidy. The other day I spilled coffee all over the cutlery drawer. Not on purpose. Shit happens. And all I had to do was empty the few things I have in there and then hoover it out. It took so little time that it wasn't even inconvenient for me to reenact the situation for this video and add a confessional. Girl spilled the coffee, but will she spill the tea? So I was about to go on to another YouTuber in their list, and I noticed something really interesting. The top 2 thumbnails are really similar. The same setup, pose, text positioning. I don't think this is a coincidence. It's a thing that smaller YouTubers do, and I've never really taken to it. You basically find a video in the niche that you want to tap into and copy it, because why be original? I watched the first few minutes of each video, and actually they are quite different in content. Marissa posted hers first, and then I checked Gabe's profile, and actually he does have a few videos where he uses this pose, so it's not off-brand for him, but it's just really interesting. What's not minimalist is to make content that's already out there, but to be fair, it looks like it's pretty different. Maybe it just was a coincidence that they happened to have the exact same thumbnail and both their videos come up under the exact same search term and look identical. Anyway, as heartfelt as Marissa's opening was, Gabe cut to the chase a little bit more, so I'm going to focus on his list. He says he's not buying shoes at all in 2022. I think that's fair. If you already own a bunch of shoes, then just wear them. Don't add to the masses. It's kind of the same as the clothing thing. As you might know, I'm on a quest to repair my broken shoes at the moment. I've had some success fixing my Vans, so they're back in circulation, but it took way more effort than I thought it would in order to fix them. I spent an hour and a half creating this little plastic thing to go in the bottom of my shoe, and then I had to sacrifice a soul to the Dark Lord, pun intended, in order to get them to stick together. It still smells like burning in the flat. But I'm really glad that I fixed them and they didn't go to landfill. Gabe mentions junk food, and Ashlyn also had this on her list. He mentioned realigning food in his mind as something that nourishes his body, not something that you reach for when you're bored, sad, or angry. Remember when TV shows used to show people throwing food when they were like disappointed with something? Can you imagine if that was socially acceptable? I mean, here in Britain, we have been known to shake things up a bit. But imagine just being like, nah, I'm not enjoying this stand-up. I wonder how I can let them know. Oh! Ooh. I grew up thinking that would be a lot more prevalent in real life. Gabe mentions flights, but he's not actually looking to reduce the amount of flights that he's taking. He just wants to stop paying for them, so it's something that he's not going to buy, but he's still going to try and do some sort of credit card hack in order to get free flights. It's a shame because I thought he was going to talk about more environmentally friendly ways to travel or how to fly cheaper and cleaner. But it's just that he's planning to not pay for flights. He's going to strap himself to the wings or something, I don't know. But overall, I think most of the things that they mention in their lists are relevant right now. Also, minimalism is good for the environment if you are focusing on reducing consumption and not just doing it for aesthetics. Borrowing books, clothes and other items, shopping secondhand, repairing what you have and using one item for more than one purpose is a minimalist, intentional and environmental way of living. Early 2021, I was buzzing for the new Netflix documentary on minimalism, Less Is Now. It was a follow-up to a really sweet indie doc called Minimalism that was made by two friends who found minimalism and it changed their life, and they teamed up with the most popular minimalist YouTuber and made this little documentary about the movement. But Less Is Now is weird. Drew Gooden does a really good analysis where he compares it to a religion or a cult, and I would be a hypocrite to just regurgitate the points that he made. So definitely watch his video if you want to know more, but there was a lot of disappointment from the minimalist community and the fans of the minimalists, myself included. It just never really got into how to take steps to become a minimalist. It didn't explore all the things that you might come up against, the baddies along the way, Lord Capital and his shiny goods. And further to the documentary being a dud, their podcast took a really weird turn. I liked listening to their thoughts, and their guests were often really insightful. But one day, one of them said, solutions are the problem. And the other one said, oh, like having a solution to a problem prevents us from finding the root of the problem in the first place, right? And he was like, nah, solutions are the problem. So his buddy's like, I don't understand, like, can you elaborate? And he didn't, like, he just kept saying the same thing over and over again. He said it in a slightly different way, but not in a way that enlightened anybody. And if the other minimalist can't get it, how are the rest of us supposed to get it? I'm pretty sure a production guy chimes in and also gets it wrong. And that was the moment for me that these guys became irrelevant. For me. I mean, I talked to a friend who also knew of them and had also been really critical of the documentary, but we both agreed that they had gone to a place where they were really disconnected with their audience, and what they were trying to bring to the table was ideology that wasn't in line with how most people get into minimalism and what most people get from it. I always took their points of view with a pinch of salt, but this would have required an entire salt mine. I stopped listening at this point because I felt that they had so little to add to the conversation for me, and they were pretty cringe. They were always a bit cringe, but this was now another level. So their friend that they made the documentary with and king of minimalism on YouTube, Matt Diavella, talked about his point of view on the documentary and why he was not going to make any more docs about minimalism. His channel had always had other elements in there that weren't minimalism, so it wasn't unusual that we were now seeing a lot more content that was out of the minimalism sphere. But to be honest, at this point, I did think to myself, is the minimalist movement coming to an end? But it's maybe over as a trend, a buzzword, and an aesthetic. But it's not over as a lifestyle. It's still one of the best ways that I know that brings people peace and harmony in their lives. Thank you for watching all the way to the end of this video. I really appreciate it. If you know anyone else who would like this content, then please share it with them. Get rid of their stuff and make them a minimalist without telling them. Just kidding, don't do that. Obviously that would be wrong. Share this video in some other way. It's fine. See you next time.